guys, Heather here, also known as LadyStaba. I'm here to give you my first video tutorial about heat transfer vinyl, which is what I used for my Asari Commando for Mass Effect costume I'm currently working on. A lot of people have expressed interest on how I used it and how I achieved the hexagon look I did. So since I really encourage sharing techniques and ideas amongst the cosplay community, thought I'd do my first tutorial for you guys. So let's get started. Okay, so the heat transfer vinyl I used for the hexagon print on the Asari Commando from Mass Effect. I really wanted to achieve the metallic look that the Asari Commandos have versus going with like a spoonflower design of my own and having it come out looking flat. So I decided to achieve it by hand. I used heat transfer vinyl, which works a lot like how heat and bond works. I got my color in metallic fuchsia. I ordered it online. The website I ordered from, they charged way too much for shipping, so I'm not going to recommend them, but I'm still going to post the website in the description. The heat transfer vinyl, it's really flexible as a fabric. It stretches really easy. You could sew through it really easily. So overall, a really nice result. So I'm very happy with how it's coming out. This is just the front panel. I still have the back panel to do, so I still have a lot of hexagon cutting in front of me, which is the next thing I'm going to show you on how to use the heat transfer vinyl, cut it out, iron it on, etc. Alright, so this is what the heat transfer vinyl looks like. This is the wrong side of the heat transfer vinyl sheet. It came in a roll a yard long by about 14 inches wide. This is the right side. Obviously do all of your drawing on the wrong side of it, just in case, you know, if the pin that you're using or whatever you're using to mark or draw on it leaves a mark, you don't want it to stay on the right side. Lucky for me, I'm just doing hexagons, so I don't have to worry about, you know, thinking about it too much when I flip it over. Is it going to be, you know, if you're doing letters, if it's going to read right. So it's pretty stiff, actually, like this, but that's because it has a clear plastic top over the top on this side that once you cut it out and iron it on, you'll have to peel off, which I'll show you that in a bit. So next let's talk about these hexagons. So as you can see here, I've been cutting out the hexagons by hand. Now if you have like a laser printer or something of that sort, I highly recommend you do that. This is a very time-consuming and painstaking process if you're cutting them out by hand. So if you can, or if you have a way or know some way to make this easier for yourself, do it, because this is very time-consuming. Basically, I came up with a master hexagon pattern, and I used this out of craft foam because I thought it'd be nice and sturdy versus paper, and keep, you know, the shape. I just you know, go through and I trace around it, make sure that I get right on the edges of my pattern and it doesn't wiggle around much, so that when I, you know, take it off, I have this right here. Now, I figured out that I do probably about 10-15 hexagons at a time, and then I'll stop to cut them out. So if you try to do them all at once and then cut them out, your hand's probably going to cramp up from the cutting. So I do about 10 to 15 at a time just to sort of break up the pace and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cut out then. So if you are cutting this out by hand, the instructions suggest that you cut at a 45-degree angle. The reason being is because when you go to peel off the clear plastic top, it makes it really difficult to peel off if you're not doing so. I don't really have that luxury to get an exact cut on this, so peeling it off can be difficult, which I'll talk about in a minute. But if you can, try to peel it off or cut it in a 45-degree angle, and of course if you have a laser printer or whatever, laser cutter, some tool that is better than this, definitely use that instead. So just cut it out. There we go. So now I'm gonna get it ironed on. Alright, so now we're going to do the fun part, ironing it on. I usually, you know, have, like I mentioned earlier, about 10 to 15 at a time to iron on, and then I'll go back, cut out some more, and repeat the process over and over. But for the tutorial, I'm just going to do one piece right now. For this particular design, I actually picked the middle of my pattern piece and went with that, which was about here, and started from that point and then built out the hexagons around it. As you can see, hexagon cutting is not an exact science if you're doing it by hand, so some of the gaps aren't perfect, and as much as I would like them to be, I can't really be that meticulous, otherwise I'll be here all year. It's going to be looked at from far away, so I think it'll be fine. Plus there's a lot of straps and other stuff to cover that shit up, so whatever. Alright, so let's get this placed. So I'm going to place it right about here. Okay, and then I'm going to iron it on. I have my iron on a lower setting just so that it doesn't get too hot, because you don't want it too hot. It'll melt right through this and have disastrous results. So I'm just going to place it over for about 10 to 15 seconds. You don't really need to apply too much pressure at all. Alright, it's going to be very, very hot to the touch, so just let it cool down a little bit. It looks like it shifted a little bit. That's probably because I'm doing the video. Ow. It's very, very hot, so just let it cool down before you go through and peel off the top plastic. Peel off that clear plastic top. I already got it started a little bit here. Like I said, if you're not doing a 45-degree angle cut on this, it'll make it a little difficult to get started with. But you just peel it right off, and you're good to go. Sometimes you get a little bit of a lift on the edges. This one, not so much. There's not much you can do about it after you take off the clear plastic. You just have to deal with it. So just make sure you iron it really well before you peel it off. As you can see, there's kind of like these really like lines or grains in it. I haven't really figured out a way to not have those, but I figured on this particular costume it's okay. She's an Asari Commando. She's going around kicking ass. I'm sure she's going to have a little bit of weathering on her clothes. Alright, so that's my video tutorial on how to use heat transfer vinyl, like I did for the hexagon pattern on my Asari Commando from Mass Effect. I highly recommend using heat transfer vinyl for any of your costume needs. It's very easy to use. I know I will definitely be looking into using it a lot more in the future. Especially if you have a laser printer, a laser cutter, or some way to cut out the design a lot easier than by hand. Definitely use it. You can order it online. Just Google heat transfer vinyl. You'll get a bunch of different websites. If you have any questions, just shoot me a message. I'm more than happy to answer them. Since this was my first tutorial, I'm not sure if I covered everything. Until next time, it's been fun, you guys. So say goodbye. Bye, Ezio. Yeah.